Okay, good morning, folks. This is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. It is Wednesday, February 9th. It is 9 a.m. This is our normal agenda hearing. We will start with the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bogue,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner Hackett, Commissioner McGowan,
Here.
Commissioner Mesner,
Here.
Commissioner Nanjapa, Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 out of 7 commissioners present.
Great. Thank you very much. I first want to speak to the agenda that we have before us. At this point, we have commissioner comments, then public comment, a consent agenda, and then we have scheduled an update from KPK on its progress under the terms of the compliance plan entered in order number 1V772, docket number 2011000261. Commissioners, I would like to let you know that as of yesterday, there was a bit of a development on the KPK matter. KPK has tendered its global response plan as required by the compliance plan. Staff is in the process of reviewing it. They need more time to allow staff and KPK to hopefully get on the same page with regard to that compliance, the GRIP, the global response something. And so as a result of that, both staff and KPK in concert with me yesterday had a late call, and there was agreement amongst everybody to give them a little more time before we get an update from KPK. And so I would request that we allow the agenda to be revised by removing the update, and we will re-agendize that just as soon as we can after staff and KPK have had a chance to finalize their work on the proposed global response plan. Any questions about that? Everybody okay with that? I think both staff and KPK are anxious to get back before us, but there is some additional homework that needs to get done. So with that, let's consider our agenda amended to remove the update from KPK. At this time, we will move into our agenda. The next agendized item is commissioner comments. Do any commissioners have comments for the good of the cause? Would let everybody know, I see we've got 31 attendees, that we are well in the depths of the financial assurance rulemaking. We will receive an update on, we'll get a new red line of the rules based upon commissioner guidance on this Friday. That'll be posted to the website on Monday, I believe at 9 o'clock. Help me there, hearings manager Larson, if I've got that right. We would get an update from staff. And what is the time of that on Monday, Ms. Larson?
It is 9 a.m. You are correct.
Okay, so like 9 to 11?
Yes.
9 to 11, we'll get an update from staff on the rules. And then on just looking ahead, Wednesday, we have a full hearing docket on OGDPs. And then Thursday and Friday, we will hear from the parties with regard to their responses to the final red lines. And then we take up final deliberations on February 22nd and February 23rd. Thank you for nodding up and down. I think I got all that right. One other procedural matter, we do have right now on our agenda a commissioner work session on Friday at 10 a.m. However, due to the absence of a couple of commissioners, we're going to not have that meeting, and we'll likely have our next commissioner work session on Friday, February 25th. Okay, seeing no further public or general commissioner comment, we will turn to general public comment. And I believe we have 7 people signed up today. Is that right, Ms. Larson?
That is correct.
And who do we have first?
We have Ms. Jean Lim.
Okay, let's get everything up and running here. Good morning. We can see you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Jean Lim, and I am speaking on behalf of myself in seeking information and a status update from the COGCC. I am not protesting or objecting to any permit or filing by any particular operator. My comments today are suggestions on how the COGCC can take immediate action to further enhance the report on the evaluation of cumulative impacts, as suggested for today's public comment. In the introduction to the report, Director Murphy states that she quotes, "looks forward to continuing to build our knowledge of cumulative impacts as we expand our data set and continue to learn," end quote. As previously referred to at the COGCC, Extraction has an 84-well project with extensive VMPs in Broomfield, and Broomfield has self-funded high-quality air quality monitoring systems surrounding those pads. On December 4th, during coiling and tubing operations, emissions triggered 6 Ajax CSU whole canisters, an unprecedented number during an hour. The canister analysis shows the largest concentrations of VOCs ever measured over 2 years of monitoring operations, and 1 hour calculated benzene level of 186.479 parts per billion, contrasted with the ATSDR acute health guideline standard at 9 parts per billion for a 1 hour exposure. As described in the 2019 CDPHE report, the highest exposures are expected to be during the flowback phase, not earlier during coiling and tubing. The COGCC staff should be as interested in Broomfield and looking at the extraction logs to investigate why these unexpected emissions occurred during coiling and tubing. Yet the COGCC staff are not positively responding to Broomfield staff requests to ask for the December 4th operators logs. Broomfield has 4 more pads to go through coiling and tubing to be concerned about. Additionally, on page 18 of the report, it describes the COGCC's intended usage of the new AQCC Reg 7 monitoring reports. However, the APCD just sent the October 2021 report to Broomfield. The report points out 3 months after the fact that extractions required Reg 7 monitors were down during the month of October. But there is no teeth to the APCD comment, and Broomfield has no idea if the monitors are currently operating correctly. Broomfield needs timely, effective management of Reg 7, and the COGCC also has an interest in this to enhance its data set, according to the report. Requesting the December 4th operator logs to better understand unprecedented emissions and suggesting the APCD enforce Reg 7 would be a step in the right direction for both the COGCC and Broomfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lim, for the comments and bringing them to our attention today. I think we'll try to get through all of public comment before we respond, if at all, to public comment. We now have Ms. Lori Anderson.
Thank you. I am speaking on behalf of myself today. Sorry, my name is Lori Anderson. I am speaking on behalf of myself and am seeking information and the status update from the COGCC. I am not protesting or objecting to any permit or filing by any particular operator. I appreciate the Commission's encouragement for members of the public to comment on staff's report of the evaluation of cumulative impacts. Consideration of cumulative impacts must include both the cumulative number of wells near any particular home, as well as the cumulative impacts of all aspects of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. Prior to the passage of SB 181, Extraction Oil and Gas received permits for a large-scale oil and gas development in Broomfield. Despite impacted residents raising a sense of concerns, the operator touted the project as best-in-class blue ribbon and the Tesla of operations. These concerns went beyond residents. Prior to the COGCC vote to allow the director to consider Extraction's 84-well project in Broomfield permits for approval, several commissioners recognized that this was an unprecedented multi-well project in a dense residential neighborhood, and Commissioner Ager even stated there is no room for extraction error here. We now have a better understanding of cumulative impacts. These are all the impacts from all of the nearby pads and wells within your community or on your border that impact any given residence. Oftentimes, an entire community is similarly impacted, and it is a sum total of all the impacts from all the wells that makes up the total cumulative impact, whether it's a new large-scale development, an old well that has a leaking tank, a pipeline that's been routed near your community, or a plugged and abandoned well that has been historically leaking under a community, or any combination of such impacts, and surely I'm missing some. The cumulative impacts from my community with large-scale well site development at multiple locations nearby and a leaking plugged and abandoned well include, but are certainly not limited to 24/7 noise that prevented families like mine from getting adequate sleep and resulted in much stress and anxiety. Dust that rose high above the 32-foot sound walls on multiple occasions, heavy truck traffic carrying an ongoing stream of sandboxes, street sweepers that made frequent U-turns on our roads, emissions and odors coming off the well pads that are only now just beginning to develop. We are only now just beginning to develop the technology to capture for analysis, while residents have developed complaint fatigue. And once reported symptoms, including headaches, eye irritation, nosebleeds, difficulty breathing, neurological impacts, and more that now go unreported. It is a social and emotional stress that a community endures, as some receive lease offers that they can either accept or be forced pooled, knowing that the project comes with significant impacts, and others that don't even have a voice in the matter other than public outcry. I could go on, but I do not have the time. The key takeaway is that cumulative impacts include all this and so much more. I would like to call your attention to events that occurred in Broomfield despite all the BMPs. This past November, there was a filter fire at the Northwest B site. Residents were quickly dismissed with their concerns. Then on January 14th, residents clearly saw what appeared as a fireball over the top of the Northwest pad's 32-foot sound wall and heavy, thick black smoke. This was just after the Marshall Fire destroyed over 1,000 homes in our bordering communities, and concerns of wildfires remain high. Yet impacted residents had to seek out information on what was happening. The city sent out the information it received from Civitas, but it was a news story pursued by impacted residents that brought out previously undisclosed information. Actually, the fire wasn't a short-lived event that led to shut-in. It was, in fact, the opposite, as noted by a spokesperson, that it was the restart of the operations following the shut-in. Anyways, I would like to also support Jean Lim's request for those operator logs and more information, and for this continued engagement as we work through all these cumulative impacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Then we now will bring Devin Schaff to the panel.
I'm sorry, did you say Devin Schaff?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Devin Schaff, a council member with the City and County of Broomfield, though I do not represent the entire council or organization. I am speaking on behalf of myself, and I am seeking information and a status update from the COGCC. I am not protesting or objecting any permit or filing by any particular operator. When we're talking about cumulative impacts, we're not just talking about the impacts to people living just 500 feet away or even 2,000 feet away, although we do know the impacts are greatest near the operations, but rather we must also include the impacts that occur at distances greater than 2,000 feet. For example, look at the smoke plumes that travel long distances. We need operators that are proactive and communicative to ensure residents that are impacted by the operations are informed when impacts do occur, and provide time for impacted residents to return home to assist their teens or pets to seek shelter immediately or prepare for evacuation. The recent example on the Northwest pads in Broomfield are a key example of an event that, although short-lived, could have resulted in an even more severe situation, especially in light of the recent Marshall Fire. Having the COGCC requesting the December 4th operator logs to better understand the unprecedented emissions is an important action that can be taken today to work towards effective solutions, and we must continue to ensure access to operator logs during future events. Additionally, suggesting the APCD enforce Reg 7 would be a step in the right direction for both the COGCC and Broomfield. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Schaff. So we've heard from three folks from the City and County of Broomfield. We do have Mike Leonard and Scott Cuthbertson from the commission on the panel. Would recognize either of them if they would like to respond relative to the COGCC's work on this issue and the work that you've done with the City and County of Broomfield staff. Hey there, Mr. Cuthbertson.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. Deputy Director Scott Cuthbertson for operations at COGCC. I think we acknowledge the public comment as being, a representative of an event that happened. We did meet with the City and County of Broomfield staff during one of our routine meetings. It happened to come up just from the timeliness of the event. And, I think Civitas has been forthcoming in the information. They've provided the root cause analysis that led to the event that one of the public testimonies referred to in terms of some black smoke and I can't attest to a fireball, but I know there was certainly black smoke. We did get a root cause analysis from the operator that explained what happened, that it was, and that the emergency equipment, the upset handling equipment on site did work as designed. And I know that there's been requests for logs, and I'm just not sure what else the operator could provide. There's no one on site just taking notes of everything that's happening. People are performing their jobs, and then they they reduce that activity to a report, like a root cause analysis report after the fact. So I'm not aware that there are any logs per se, other than the documentation that's provided in the reports. I would say that I was only involved in one conversation with the City and County of Broomfield staff during that event. And so Mike, our compliance unit manager, Mike Leonard, might have more details that he can provide. In regard to the air emissions, we would acknowledge the recognition that CDPHE is the jurisdictional administrative agent for that issue. And, we've tried very hard to make sure that we don't unnecessarily position ourselves in the middle of those communications, because middlemen rarely add any additional value and often just cause information to flow less smoothly. And so we've really encouraged the City and County of Broomfield staff, and I think they understand that CDPHE is the administrative agent for the air quality emissions issues that the City and County might have interest in. And I believe they understand how to communicate with CDPHE. We did talk about that some. I'm sure Commissioner Hackett, when he is able to engage, could probably make sure that that's true. And I think that's our ability to respond. We are very committed and interested in being responsive to issues that are within our jurisdictional authority, and we want to always be mindful of that. And I believe we have been. But we can't respond on behalf of another agency, so we're really trying to just help that conversation flow directly to CDPHE, so that we're not an unnecessary middleman that would, I'm afraid, just in the end add confusion potentially and slow the conversation. So I guess that would be my comments.
Thank you very much, Deputy Cuthbertson. I do appreciate that. Normally, we're not in a give and take sort of thing, but we heard a lot of consistent information from 3 elected officials. So I think it's helpful to get that on the record. Mr. Leonard, I don't know if you've got anything else to add. Appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you, Chair Robbins. Not a whole lot more to add. I did have 2 or 3 conversations with Broomfield staff, and I thought we had come to a consensus through the root cause analysis that we had taken care of everything we needed to. I know that they asked for the logs of as Deputy Director Cuthbertson mentioned, of the air event, and I recommended that they talk to CDPHE, because that's really more, CDPHE is the air emissions agency, and we're not. I thought we were good on that. If I misunderstood, that's my fault, but again, I thought everything had been taken care of.
Great. Listen, thank you both. Really appreciate you being available to address the issues. I think that the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is doing everything it can to be responsive to our local governments when issues arise, and I really appreciate the dedication and expertise that you're bringing to the table. and the city and county of Broomfield knows how to get a hold of you if they think there's something left that's outstanding. So thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll now continue with public comment. Brad Leifin is next.
Hi, commissioners. I'm just trying to get my computer set up the way I need it to be. I'm trying to also have my presentation up on screen, but there we go. Can I start now?
You may, although we do not see your presentation.
I'm not intending to show it. I'm just wanting to speak from it. So
Okay.
I've got things set up now. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead then.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment on staff's 2021 cumulative impact report. My name is Brad Clepane, and I'm speaking today for myself. I feel that this report is a good start. However, I would refer staff and the commissioners to the report issued by the Sierra Club last month on COGCC's first year of operation under mission change, prepared by ex-state Senator Mike Foote, a prime author of SB 181. There's an excellent discussion on cumulative impacts in that report, which COGCC should read carefully to incorporate his insights. This CI report rightfully focuses on impacts from oil and gas wells in locations that were approved in 2021. However, there is very little historical information given in the report at all. Current cumulative impacts resulting from oil and gas are the result of decades of unfettered oil and gas development, pre-SB 181. COGCC staff should be providing that baseline historical information as the context in which current impacts are occurring. This is also important to determine if and how oil and gas impacts are being reduced as time goes on. For example, I would like to see the total number of acres disturbed by oil and gas to date by basin, both reclaimed and unreclaimed acreage. The number of existing wells and locations located in all CPW high priority habitat by HPH type, historical water usage by well type and basin, historical sources of water, including surface and groundwater, recycled versus fresh, and a list of supply sources. A discussion of baseline wildlife trends for the Rule 1202 species. Otherwise, the commission and public may be unaware of the dire straits many of these species are in, the demise of which oil and gas has contributed to. The report needs to explain why methane emissions from Western Slope wells are 100 to 200 times greater than those in the TJ Basin. See tables 8 and 9, 100 to 200 times higher, and what will be done about this. COGCC needs to get a handle on these huge Western Slope methane emissions immediately. Page 9 of the report says that future reports may include a comparison of actual to estimated air emissions. This absolutely should be done. Please change that may to shall. As for further rulemakings under section 904A8, there should be a rulemaking during 2022 on reclamation. COGCC's current reclamation standards are outdated and do not provide for restoring ecosystem functions. Settling for 80% leaf coverage as the standard of successful reclamation. As part of this reclamation rulemaking, COGCC should provide for a managed withdrawal from existing wells and locations and high priority habitat to return that habitat as quickly as possible to the wildlife and biological uses for which it has been designated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Obviously, it appeared you were reading from something. If you would like to submit that as a written submittal, we'd love to see it and would be able to digest it as well that way. It's up to you.
Yes, I appreciate that. I was all hoping to do that, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, great. We now will hear from Kate Christensen.
Hi, my name is Kate Christensen. Thanks for taking the time to hear my comments today. I came here to talk about the cumulative impact study that staff put together. It's a start for sure, and I really appreciate that the commission's taking this on because it's incredibly important. But there are some things that are missing from it, including looking at the entire pollution impacts. It's looking at oil and gas, but it's not looking at like what other pollution sources are people breathing in. Like it might say this number of pollution sources, but we need to know how much is there and if we should be adding more wells to a certain area. We say, oh, this is a disproportionately impacted community, but there should be a threshold, like what is enough? What is too much? We know that oil and gas operations significantly contribute to ozone. So if we're in a severe EPA ozone non-attainment and we keep adding to the cumulative impacts, what's that doing to public health and safety? I'm sure that you guys saw the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health report that looked at 15 million people who are on Medicare. And it showed that people who live closer to an oil and gas operation have a higher risk of dying prematurely, 2.5% higher mortality rates for the elderly. So what we're looking at when we're talking about cumulative impacts, it really is life and death for people living near oil and gas wells. And it should be looking at the totality. Like, are there impacts from point sources like Suncor or the Cherokee plant or a ton of traffic interstates nearby? Those should also be included in looking at total air pollution for oil and gas wells being added to an area. I was also, this is just talking off the cuff here from what I just observed in public comment. I was thinking about what Jean Lim, Lori Anderson, Devin Schaff talked about in Broomfield. And I didn't see any empathy for that situation. Like from Broomfield, people were evacuated from the Marshall Fire. You could see it, you were watching it come. And then to have an enormous ball of fire and smoke go off of one of those oil and gas, I was like, how much more can communities take? And then I heard, good job staff for talking and then passing the buck to the CDPHE. I just want to say I support the people of Broomfield and have a lot of empathy for what they've been experiencing. It's terrifying to live near huge benzene spikes in VOCs. So anyway, hopefully that can all work into the cumulative impacts report. Thanks so much.
Now we'll hear from Maya Govinu.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing our comments today. I'm actually going to have to head out for, I have to catch a bus. So could I actually go next by any chance?
We only have one more speaker, but you can go right after the other speaker.
Okay, yes, sounds good.
So then we would hear from Alexis Schwartz.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Alexis Schwartz, and I'm a concerned Coloradan speaking on my own behalf today. The COGCC's Cumulative Impact Report asserted that the COGCC's past year's activities have been aligned with the legal mandate set forth by SB 181 to protect the environment, human health, safety, and welfare, and also those of biological resources. This assertion differs from the findings of former Senator Mike Foote, prime sponsor of SB 181, as detailed in his recently released analysis of the COGCC's activities that took place following that mandate taking effect. Foote's analysis found that the past year's permitting activities are not appreciably different than their pre-SB 181 activities, and identified opportunities for the COGCC to meet requirements set forth by the mission change. Many oil and gas drilling plan filings for new projects include these boxes, checked yes. Is this OGDP within 2,000 feet of a residence? Is this plan near or within a disproportionately impacted community? Is this plan near a sensitive wildlife area? Is this oil and gas location listed a sensitive area for water resources? And these plans are getting approved with 0 denials to date. How can these activities qualify as anything other than business as usual, plus new checkboxes? There's a real opportunity and a great need for changing these activities to meet legal mandates to protect human health, our living environment, and biological resources, and to meet the moment of the climate crisis having arrived. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe we now hear from our final speaker, Ms. I do not know how to pronounce your last name, Bovigno.
Yes, hi. Thank you for hearing our comments today. And yes, it's Bovino. So I just wanted to echo what a lot of the speakers today have said, in that a cumulative impacts report should be what it says it will be in the name. And I think to do that, it's important to consider the impact of all greenhouse gases and pollution sources in a geographic area, including methane, for example, and other greenhouse gases, because all of these emissions, particulates, VOCs, etc., that are not included in the cumulative impacts report do have a significant impact on people's health and safety, and also on the environment. So, excuse the bus, I'm sorry. I just wanted to emphasize that global warming, climate crisis is a global issue, and something that we can't just look at in terms of the emissions of just one source, and the overall impact is the most important thing to consider. So I would really look forward to seeing the incorporation of all sources of pollution in the cumulative impacts report. Thank you very much for hearing my comments.
Thank you very much for appearing and testifying to us this morning. That does conclude the folks that have signed up for public comment. I would note for the record that we received 3 written comments that the commissioners have read, and we appreciate. The written comments were from Mark Glenn, Tom Stumpf, and Heidi Leithwood. All right, commissioners, that takes us through public comment. We now have, as the remaining matter on our agenda, the consent agenda with 9 hearing officer recommendations under Rule 505. Are there any questions with regard to the consent agenda as presented? Seeing no questions, do we have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Gonzalez and a second from Commissioner McGowan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Again, we have removed the update from KPK on docket 201-100261, and we'll hear that at a later date. And I believe that does conclude the matters set for our agenda this morning. Again, we will not be having a work session on Friday. We will reconvene on Monday morning at 9 on financial assurances. Again, reconvening on Wednesday, the 16th for a hearing, and then Thursday and Friday, 17th and 18th for rulemaking and party presentations. And then again on the 22nd and the 23rd. So we got a lot ahead of us. I know we're all obviously working hard on getting prep for all those meetings. I want to thank everybody for their attendance today. We had 46 people attending with us. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn. Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just kind of pondering and thinking about the public comment from Broomfield this morning. And I think they're probably feeling like they're getting caught in the washing machine, where my understanding is that the Air Pollution Control Division has said that they cannot compel the operator to release whatever their log is. And I'm assuming this is an air quality log based on the air quality data that they're gathering, which is kind of confusing to me. So maybe Mr. Hackett, Commissioner Hackett, could maybe explain to us from Air Pollution Control Division's perspective, next time he's with us, why they can't get the air emissions data. And I guess it seems to me like I think it's a requirement under Reg 7 that they are doing continuous air monitoring. And so I guess I'm struggling to understand why that air monitoring data would not be available. I'm also aware that I think most operators do quality control at the end of a quarter or the month and then release their data. And I would be curious to know if Civitas is planning on doing that with their air data at some point in time, and that might help address wanting to have access to whatever happened on December 4th. So I feel like there's maybe room for us to help move things forward or try to understand why folks are feeling like they're not getting access to information they feel like they should be getting access to.
Good comments. Thank you, Commissioner McGowan. Hearings Manager Larson, if you could summarize that to Commissioner Hackett. He's not with us today, and perhaps he can bring back some perspective from that as well. And then we can, we also might have Mr. Leonard reach out to Civitas to have them provide some perspective as well. My understanding, frankly, is that our commission did everything we could and worked quite proactively with the staff of the city and county of Broomfield. And I'm pretty impressed with that. We obviously are hearing from elected officials. And so I'm interested and curious to know what the disconnect is between staff, who seemed somewhat satisfied with the work that the commission did, and the elected officials. So I throw that out there for the elected officials to do their homework and get back to us as well, so that we can continue the productive dialogue. Anything else, commissioners? Then again, I guess we are looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Great. We will see everybody Monday morning.